Barrett Victor Echo 4 Bravo Delta Echo here. And today this video is just going to be a little show off and demonstration of my newly acquired old Tandy 102 portable computer. It's a 1980s laptop computer, if you will. This is the second version of the Model 100 line. It's got basic LCD display. It's just a dot matrix display, able to display 40 characters by 8 lines of text, and you can draw graphics, etc. by activating the pixels individually. It's got a full QWERTY keyboard. Keyboard's actually got very nice tactile feel to it. Function keys, which correspond to different functions depending on the program you're running. Some basic functions for the computer. We've got a label, a paste, pause break button, print button, activate printer if you have, and then navigation keys, left, down, up, right. This computer I bought used from the local classifieds. It does have the stereotypical yellowing to the plastic that most of these computers of this era do end up getting. I'm gonna try a couple methods that I was researching online to try and see if I can bring it back to its original white color. This computer, the Tandy 102, main difference between this computer and the Model 100 is while the internals of the computer are a little more refined, the motherboard on the Model 100 just kind of looked kind of like it was almost a prototype, whereas this is a much more refined looking motherboard. Computer itself runs on 4 AA batteries, apparently gets about 20 hours worth of operating time off 4 standard alkalines. I don't know how true that is, though I've had the batteries in this machine since I bought it from the gentleman, and haven't changed them. The low battery light has yet to come on, and I've probably put a good 9 or 10 hours or so on the machine. The computer itself has got some standard interface ports on the back. We've got DB25 RS232C port, a printer port, which is like a LPT port, but it's like a DIN socket style. It's not the standard DB25 you'd find on the later IBM compatibles. And it's got some DIN connectors, 8-pin DIN connectors for the internal 300 baud modem and a cassette drive, which you can basically use any cassette recorder with a remote. The system bus, which is, let's see if I can pull this off here. It's just a little plastic cap. Which is didn't actually look at the pins. I think it's a 40 pin. So similar to like you'd see on an EID hard drive. The nice thing about the system bus is this part of one of the reasons why I bought the 102 as opposed to the Model 100 is it gives you direct access to the system bus for I plan on building some peripherals later on. The machine's got a reset switch on the back, on the side, on-off switch, a contrast, and then it's also got DC input, 6 volts for using an adapter. And then on the final side here, we've got the serial input for barcode reader, and then we've got the function switches for the internal modem. You switch it between answer, originate, so on and so forth. Standard functions. I bought this computer for 2 reasons. I want to use it for some amateur radio related projects, And I also just have kind of always had a fascination with some of the older 8-bit microcomputers. This machine runs a Intel 80C85 processor, which is the CMOS version of the Intel 8085. It's basically just a special or modified version of the Intel 8080. I think it's got a couple extra functions, and it's better on power. I'm not sure the exact differences between the two, but they are more or less compatible with one another. Um, this machine, the CPU, runs at a staggering 2.4 megahertz, and it has, as it sits, no storage medium. Everything is in RAM. The RAM is battery backed, so when you shut the machine off, it allows you to save your software into the RAM and use it as a storage medium. And that is powered by a nickel cadmium battery that's soldered to the board. And that is charged by the double A's that you put in the machine, or the 6-volt wall wart adapter if you're plugging it into the wall and using it. This particular machine has 32K of memory installed in it, and the early Model 100s, I believe, were sold with as little as 16K, maybe even 8K of memory, and you could actually buy the RAM chips from Radio Shack or Tandy dealer to install on your computer. Um, Underneath the machine, the previous owner here put tape over top of it. This is the memory save switch. So this basically enables or disables the backup battery on the RAM. And it's the battery door for the 4 AA batteries. And underneath this little door here, we have, this is one of the expansion memory modules. So this would have been a module that would have been added on later. And the option ROM socket, which is like a kind of weird inverted socket. It's non-standard. Apparently there is a way that you can modify this to rewire the board and put a standard socket in there and modify it so that it will accept a standard PROM. May get around to doing that. I have to see if my PROM writer will write any PROMs that this machine will accept. My main reason for buying this is amateur radio, as I mentioned. I would like to see if I can possibly use the internal modem in here and maybe do some FSK modes, maybe radio teletype or something. The older modems that these machines use tended to be frequency shift keyed. I know there is a piece of code that was written to allow the 300 baud modem to run faster at 450. So likely, if you can control the speed baud rate of the modem with software, bring it up to 450, likely there should be some kind of a way that can slow it down. Maybe bring it around to 45.45, and hopefully the mark in space frequencies on the modem are software controllable. That would be nice, though they could just be hardwired in with tone generators. And then I could very well use this for radio teletype and some other FSK applications. So we're going to power it up. And it does in fact work. I do have 3 horizontal lines in the LCD. There's a rubber strip that sandwiched between the PCB and the glass display. I think that some dust got in between or something, and it's not making proper electrical contact for those 3 horizontal lines. So I'm going to have to either find a replacement, or I'm going to have to try and repair the LCD. I haven't decided if I'm going to try and repair it yet, or source a replacement and keep this one as a spare, maybe try to repair it on the side. The machine does have the Y2K bug. When entering your date and time, it only allows you to enter the last two digits, so when you want to enter 2016, you only get 1916. Other than that, I mean, the machine, unless you're writing software that does anything date critical, it's not going to care, so it doesn't matter. I actually think it's kind of neat. There is a patch, a memory patch that you can apply that will allow you to change those first two digits to read 20 instead of 19. But I think the Y2K thing just kind of adds to the, I don't know, mystique of the machine, because it's one of the few machines that what wouldn't have been patched for Y2K. So when you load it up, you get a basic operating system, which is more or less just an interpreter. It's got BASIC built into it. It's got a text editor, telecom, which is basically a terminal application, an address book, and a scheduler. When you load these things up, you have to make different files for them to save their data to. Otherwise, it'll complain and it'll say, oh, there is no address, no file named adrs.do. So you have to make the file, and then it'll work. So if I'm planning on using this thing to manipulate the modem at software level, I gotta try and relearn to code BASIC, and it's been like 10 years since I've done anything. I think the last time was, I think I was in high school, and I was writing some software on my TI-84 Plus in TI Basic. So it's been a long time. So I've just been writing a basic antenna calculator. Nothing fancy. Just kind of getting used to manipulating different variables and converting types of variables from one type to another. String manipulation. Doing some basic graphic drawing on the computer. Things like that. So nothing huge right now, but the basic building blocks. I'm just trying to remember everything. So I have gotten some of the software to run. Kind of doing a little bit of a graphic interface here, drawing a frame and that kind of thing. Yeah, just make it look a little bit more visually appealing. So, basic dipole calculator, choose your frequency range that you want to calculate the antenna for, or if you know exactly which frequency, if you choose option 1, you can just punch it in directly. This option here, choosing the range, will find the center of this frequency range, and it will give you your calculations to tune an antenna for the center frequency between these two. And this is kind of where it will crash, because it haven't actually, well, I did write a little bit more on an emulator on my laptop, but as you can see, then I kind of had the computer draw basic dipole, element A, element B, feed point, and then obviously the feed line, and then I'm going to have the all of the output calculations all printed on either side here, and then at the bottom I'll give you a couple options to either return back to the main menu, or to actually print it. So the only other thing that was wrong with this computer when I got it, which really wasn't a huge problem, was the down key here. You had to push it in like a really weird angle, precisely at the right angle with the right amount of pressure in order to get it to work, which kind of made navigating and writing software a bit of a pain if you're trying to scroll down to find a certain subroutine. So I took it apart and removed the print and removed the down key and swapped them. Since I don't have a printer, I'm not going to be using that key. And I have since ordered replacement switches on eBay. So when they show up, I'm going to replace all 16 of them. And at that point, I'm going to do a thorough cleaning of the machine. It is pretty cruddy underneath the keyboard here. And try and whiten up the plastic a little bit and bring this thing back a little bit more to its original state. So finally, I'll do a little tour of the inside of the machine. Just turn this over here. So normally there's a couple clips at the front here that hold it together. Those were already broken when I got it. So the only clips that are remaining on mine are on either side. And that's it. The first thing that you will initially notice about the difference between the 102 and the 100 is the 100, the LCD and the keyboard are bolted directly to the front bezel and linked with a ribbon cable, whereas in the 102 the bezel is separate and the keyboard and the LCD kind of just sit on top. And when I mean sit on top, they literally sit on top. They're not attached at all. This is the underside of the motherboard. There is some surface mount parts on here. Looks like kind of afterthought stuff by Radio Shack. So I've taken the keyboard LCD off, removed the batteries. I won't lose my memory because the NiCad battery in this computer still does function after all these years. The motherboard's held on literally with 2 screws. These 2 large head brass screws here on either side. And it's kind of hooked in here underneath these little hooks. So you just kind of lift it up this way. Option RAM, option ROM. We've also got the 80C85 CPU. Input-output support hardware. Battery compartment. Here's the nickel-cadmium battery that supports the memory. Over here we have the circuitry for the RS-232, which also controls the barcode reader, the modem, and also the circuitry for the cassette tape. And here we've got the relays that control input-output, control the remote. Looks like one of these relays may have been replaced at some point. And power supply, beeper. Pretty straightforward, actually quite a bit neater looking than the Model 100. Here is the RAM switch to support power to the RAM to keep the backup. Back together, batteries back in. You can see that the NiCad does in fact still work. All my memory is still there, all the software is still there. And that'll basically conclude this video on the Tandy 102. Hopefully I'll have some interesting stuff working with this thing amateur radio wise in the next while. Victor Echo 4, Bravo Delta Echo. Thank you for watching. 7-3 and clear.